I don't like other immigrants. I just need to be clear about this. No, it's like that for all of us. We don't like the ones who come after us. Like back in the day, the Irish didn't like the Italians didn't like the Puerto Ricans didn't like the Dominicans. But the Dominicans could play baseball, so they were fine. And now, the Indians and the Chinese can't stand each other. Because somebody decided we all have to check the Asian box for college applications. So all our kids are fighting for the same 15 spots at Princeton. Meanwhile, those poor Sri Lankans, Filipinos, Bhutanese, they're like, what did we do to get stuck in this mess? And seriously, when you see me, do you think Asian? Do you think, I bet she knows where the best dim sum is? No, you see me and you think, I bet her uncle owns a Motel 6. And he does, two of them.
Good morning. It's Monday, Cold War Monday, March the 30th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, motivation, meditation, and the Cold War. All that and more when I get back. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. Now, Varney and Company.
Varney and Company picks it up right now. Stu, take it away.
Good morning, Maria. Good morning, everyone.
We now have $4 gas, $100 oil, a modest bounce for stocks after Friday's huge sell-off. But we're going to start with news about the war. The president tells the Financial Times that he could take Iranian oil and seize Karg Island. That is the main hub for Iranian energy. He says the Iranians will let 20 tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the oil market pushing the price to $100 a barrel, that is a response to the president's threat to put boots on the ground, to seize Karg Island or secure Iran's supply of enriched uranium. It's exactly $100 a barrel as of now. Gas, well, that's moved up to $3.99 a gallon. That's up $1 from just 1 month ago. As for California, they're closing in on $6 a gallon. $5.87 is the latest quote. And look at diesel, $5.41. That's the average for 1 gallon of diesel across the country, and that is up $1.66 from just a month ago. That is inflationary. Stocks higher, but it's only a modest gain after Friday's very big sell-off. All the averages are now 9% below their highs. The Dow this morning, maybe up 300. NASDAQ up about 200. Don't know how we'll close. Bitcoin, 67,000 and change at the latest count. And interest rates, well, they're holding steady ahead of Fed Chair Powell's speech later today. The 10-year yields 4.36. The 2-year coming in at 3.85. There you go, 3.85. You got it. Gold, $4,400 and change. No, moved up. $4,600 and change. There you have it. On the show today, TSA workers should get their paychecks today or tomorrow. We'll see how many come back to work and how long it will take to get the security lines back to normal. Travelers remain furious. Long lines continue at some airports today. The organizers claim the No Kings rallies attracted 8 million people. Violence in some cities where anti-ICE feeling is particularly strong. In New York, a big crowd cheered Bernie Sanders and his tax the rich demand. Squeezing the wealthy seemed to be the underlying theme of the No Kings protests. It is the Democrats' rallying cry for the midterms. A straw poll at the conservative CPAC conference showed J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio way out front of everyone else in the race to be president in 2028. The message is, if you're not in the administration and you're not full MAGA, don't even think of campaigning. Monday, March 30th, 2026.
And that was Varney and Company. Non-profit news now. Back in a minute. Thank you. This isn't just making mistakes. Everyone does that. What sets the bad Democrat apart is their unwillingness or inability to learn from those mistakes. They cycle through the same behaviors, the same conflicts, the same harm to others, as if time itself resets every time they're confronted. There's no internal pause, no reflection, no recalibration. Instead, they move forward as if nothing happened, or, more insidiously, as if the damage they caused was justified or irrelevant. Over and over again, people around them end up hurt, confused, or drained. The same issues arise: manipulation, betrayal, outbursts, irresponsibility, cruelty. But when these patterns are pointed out, the bad Democrat deflects. They might just say, "That's just who I am," or accuse others of overreacting. They frame themselves as victims of circumstance, unfairly criticized, perpetually misunderstood. They treat consequences as annoyances rather than as wake-up calls, and they dismiss feedback as personal attacks. The result is a life littered with unresolved tension and broken connections. What makes this so damaging is that others often give the bad Democrat the benefit of the doubt, especially early on. There's a tendency to assume that once a bad Democrat sees the effects of their own actions, they'll change. People offer patience, second chances, even support. But the bad Democrat interprets this grace not as an opportunity for growth, but as a license to continue. They exploit the goodwill of others, knowing that many people are reluctant to believe in malicious intent. And because of this, they're often able to repeat the same cycles in new environments with new people, avoiding meaningful consequences for extended periods of time. This lack of accountability is deeply tied to an inflated sense of entitlement. They believe that rules don't apply to them, that their emotions justify their actions, and that they deserve forgiveness without effort. When things go wrong, they externalize everything. If they hurt someone, it's because the other person was too sensitive. If they lose a job, it's because the boss was intimidated by them. If a friend walks away, it's because people are fake. There's always a story, always a scapegoat. And because they never stop to examine their role in these outcomes, they're doomed to repeat them endlessly. Another troubling aspect is the illusion of change. In moments of crisis, when faced with a breakup, an ultimatum, or public fallout, they might briefly display remorse or make surface-level adjustments. They'll say the right things, maybe even act differently for a short period, but these are not real transformations. Their temporary performance is designed to smooth things over or regain control. As soon as the immediate threat passes, the old patterns return. There's no sustained effort, no genuine desire to evolve, only the constant need to maintain appearances or regain lost influence. People who interact with them often find themselves in emotional whiplash, caught between hope and disappointment, watching the same scenarios unfold with uncanny predictability. This can lead to a kind of learned helplessness in those around them, where challenging the behavior feels futile because nothing ever changes. It's emotionally exhausting to invest in someone who keeps choosing the same harm, especially when that harm is denied, minimized, or blamed on others. The repetition of destructive behavior without accountability also speaks to a deeper internal disconnect. It reflects a person who is not at war with their conscience, because that conscience is either underdeveloped or strategically silenced. They don't ask themselves the hard questions. They don't seek to make amends. They don't feel compelled to grow or evolve beyond their worst impulses. There's no internal pressure to become better, only external incentives to maintain control, avoid consequences, or manipulate perception. It's a curious thing how the people who are most attuned to the suffering of others, the most compassionate, the most open-hearted, are often the ones who end up entangled in the most toxic relationships imaginable. And that's no accident. It's not random. Because when you're someone who feels deeply, who sees pain and wants to heal it, you become a magnet for those who are unwilling or unable to heal themselves. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, motivation.
You still waiting on that alarm clock to wake you up. You're still depending on a sound to get you up and get you moving. You depend on it so much because you're too lazy to get up out of that bed and get on with your life. That alarm clock ain't got no business for you. You living your life like tomorrow is yours. You have allowed laziness to control you because you don't want to get yourself up enough enough. Hit the reset button and get to work. Rebuild your life. Your life is precious. Fight for it. Get out of the abyss of misery. Get some air in your lungs and start living again. Tell weakness to shut up. Tell excuses to be quiet. Pity won't save you. You looking for a way out? I'm telling you to find a way in. Stop looking for help all the time and help yourself. Find a way to win your life back. Don't you dare say you're done. You don't have permission to give up. I never said it was going to be easy. You're going to be judged. You're going to be put down. Not everybody's going to support you. Not everybody's going to believe in you. There are going to come times when you're going to be broken all to pieces. And you're going to feel like you cannot get it all together. You can't seem to bring your life back on track. But get that mess out of your ears and listen to the words that I'm saying. You can put your life back together again. You have the faith. You have the strength. You have the knowledge. You have the ability. Now go to work and do your business. No more of saying that you're not strong enough. No more of saying, I tried. Stop trying and start doing it. Your life has meaning. Your life has purpose. Your strength is within you. You were born with it. There's something internal inside of you that has more power than your flesh. Whatever circumstance that you are dealing with right now in your life, I am telling you right now, it is only going to last for a short time. Every day something is changing in somebody's life. Your life is changing. My life is changing. Your loved ones' lives are changing. Stop wasting time doing nothing with your life because you only got so much time, people. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, there's one thing that we cannot escape. The inevitable is coming for all of us. Death is something that we cannot escape. Life is no joke, ladies and gentlemen, but it is such an amazing gift. What we do with it depends on how we live it. Think about what you're doing with your life. I get it. People are hurting. People are miserable from time to time. People are angry from time to time. I understand it. You know why? Because you're a human being. And being human is hard. Being human is tough. But guess what? Nobody can do you better than you, ladies and gentlemen.
And that was Motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now some meditation.
There is a quiet moment available to you right now. A space where nothing is required. Nothing is missing. Welcome, beautiful soul. This is your time to simply arrive. Gently settle into a comfortable position. Allow your body to soften. And when you're ready, close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath in. And exhale gently. Again, breathing in calm. And breathing out any tension you've been holding. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. Soften your face. Feel the ground beneath you. Steady, supportive. as if it's quietly holding everything for you. And in this moment, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to become anything. You are allowed to just be. Notice the places within you that feel tight. The thoughts that keep circling. The quiet pressure to figure everything out. And just for now, see if you can loosen your grip. Imagine you've been holding on two invisible threads. Threads of worry, expectation, control. Gently begin to release them. One by one. Let them slip from your hands. You don't need to pull life towards you. You don't need to force clarity. Let it be enough to pause, to breathe, to soften. Feel the space that opens when you stop holding so tightly. There is relief here, even if only for this moment. Now bring your awareness to your heart space. If it feels right, place your hand over your heart. Take a slow breath in, as if you're breathing directly into this space. And as you exhale, feel yourself settling deeper within. Imagine a gentle glow in your heart. Not bright or overwhelming, but soft, steady, comforting. With each breath, this warmth begins to expand. It moves through your chest, your shoulders, down your arms. A quiet reminder that within you there is calm. There is wisdom. There is enough. Let your breath and your heart move together. Slow, steady, connected. Now imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast horizon. Not needing to know what's beyond it. Just witnessing its openness. Life doesn't need to be rushed forward. It doesn't need to be solved all at once. Some things are unfolding, even when you cannot see them yet. Let yourself rest in that possibility. Silently repeat within, I don't need all the answers right now. I am allowed to trust the timing of my life. What is meant for me is finding its way. Feel those words settle gently into your being. Without force, without pressure. Trust isn't something you have to prove. It's something you allow little by little. Now imagine a soft wave of calm energy flowing toward you. Not from above, not from outside, but as if the world itself is exhaling with you. This calm begins to move through your body, through your forehead, softening your thoughts. Through your chest, easing your breath. Through your belly, releasing tension you didn't know you held. Let it flow naturally, without effort. You are not chasing peace. You are allowing it. Silently repeat, I am safe in this moment. I am supported in ways I may not yet see. I am open to ease. Let these words echo softly, like a gentle reassurance within. Bring your awareness back to your breath. Inhale slowly. Exhale fully. Notice how your body feels now. Even if the shift is subtle, something has softened. Something has quieted. You've given yourself space. And that space matters.
And that was meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Dr. Berg.
What would actually happen if you consumed only meat for 30 days? I think the best way to figure this out is to go to the experts.
This is my big fear for these people. If you do it for a month and you lose 20 pounds and you feel better, great. But 20 years from now, your risk of heart disease and cancer and other medical problems are going to be very significant.
It's very difficult, if not impossible, to debunk the carnivore diet or eating meat short term because people lose a lot of weight. This is what they do. This is just like a playbook that even the tobacco industry used, and that is to seed doubt or uncertainty. Yes, it works in the short term, but we don't know long term. It might be very dangerous.
If you are a carnivore lover and you really love the carnivore, please organize a randomized control trial and please show us somehow that A, it's going to help in the short term, but B, more importantly, the long term.
A year-long investigation of 2 people in Bellevue Medical Hospital who are eating an exclusive carnivore diet. And during that period of time, these people experienced no negative effects, no dangerous changes in blood pressure, kidney function. They only experienced good things, a little bit of weight loss, and came out of the study saying that they felt better than when they started.
Has there been anything since 1930 with more than 2 people?
Discouraging people from even trying it. While we spend $4.7 trillion on our healthcare, and what do we have to show for it? A lot of chronic disease. We've tested this balanced diet for decades. And on the flip side, we have the longest trial ever in history. It's called evolution. Hunter-gatherers ate a lot of meat for a very long time, and we survived. In fact, we thrived. What's new in our diet is Pop-Tarts. It's the seed oils. When someone starts to eat just meat, okay, nothing else, the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to lose a lot of excess fluid. Some people say that's a bad thing if you're losing too much fluid, but you have to realize that if you're on a high-carb diet, you're carrying around a tremendous amount of extra fluid. And so getting rid of that is actually a healthy thing. Because we drop our carbohydrates down to 0, we enter into ketosis. We start losing weight like we've never lost weight before. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's something actually even bigger that happens. You heal your gut. The vast majority of people have damage with their gut. When you start consuming meat only, you start healing the gut from many different angles. Bile salts go through our small intestine to clean up any excess bacteria that we don't need. And if we don't have that bile to keep that in check, we end up getting too much bacteria in the wrong part of the digestive system. And then you start getting more bloating. With an all-meat diet or the carnivore diet, that clears up really fast. So your digestive system is going to thank you. When someone says that you have to heal the gut with a plant or even fiber, they just do not know what they're talking about. Adding more fiber to a gut that's already inflamed, it's like putting gasoline on a fire. It's just going to make things worse. You don't have these amino acids in any of the plant foods. They're in animal foods. Also, you're eliminating another huge food group, grains. Most of the sugar that we eat is made from grains. That refined starch will spike your blood sugar way, way higher than actual sugar will, even though it's not called a sugar. They actually can label it a complex carbohydrate. Take a look at leaky gut. The question is, what causes that? Because that seems to be at the root of so many problems, especially autoimmune disease. Then you have a lot of chemicals in these whole grains. Most grains are genetically modified, which means they have traces of this right here, Roundup Ready. You may be getting traces of this in your grains, which is also classified and patented as an antibiotic. Then when you start to consume salad or different types of vegetables, that then irritates you. Why? Because you have gut inflammation already and you can't handle all this extra fiber and plant chemicals that can irritate the gut. When you start eliminating sugar and refined grains, you stop feeding these pathogens in our gut. So now if you had an overgrowth of fungus or yeast or candida, you just starve it to death. Let's talk about insulin resistance just for a moment. It's a huge problem. It comes from sugar and starches primarily. If you have any disease that's related to insulin resistance, which a lot of people do, those diseases tend to go away. Try this out and see if it works for you. I remember one time I had severe constipation and I started to consume more meat, and I was shocked to find out how that resolved my constipation. I thought I needed more fiber to handle my constipation. Absolutely not true. As you heal the gut and you have less inflammation, you are able to now finally absorb more vitamin D. Vitamin D mainly gets absorbed in the small intestine. And if you have inflammation, that shuts it right down. You're going to need to take higher amounts of it over a period of time because it's the vitamin D that really corrects this imbalance within your immune system. Because you heal your gut, you instantly heal your brain. I'm talking about any type of lowered emotional symptom, whether it's anxiety, depression, all those things start to improve when you start to eliminate the refined grains and sugar and you start eating more meat. We're mimicking millions of years of evolution of what we ate back in the day. We make it out to be some ridiculously dangerous thing that, oh my gosh, we don't know what's going to happen long term. We have the argument, well, the meat diet is just too unsustainable. Maybe it is because you want carbohydrates and gaining weight and trying to get rid of all these metabolic problems with medication instead of food. A couple last points about an all-meat diet. Eat the whole animal, which includes bone broth and the skin and the organ meats. The other thing I would recommend is fish, shellfish, eggs. I hope you now know that if you were to consume meat long-term, not only would it not be harmful to you, it can be extremely healthy for you.
And that was Dr. Berg. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, the Cold War.
March 24th, 1986. The Mediterranean Sea is a restless, churning void of black water. It is 1 o'clock in the morning. To the north, the horizon is completely dissolved in darkness, merging the sea and the sky into a single, impenetrable curtain. We are standing on the bridge of the Ian Zakwit. This is the pride of the Libyan Navy, a Nanuchka-class corvette supplied directly by the Soviet Union. Under the feet of the crew, the deck plates hum with the rhythmic vibration of high-output diesel engines. The air inside the command center is thick, smelling of stale cigarette smoke, ozone from the electronics, and the sharp, metallic tang of nervous sweat. For the men on board, this is not a drill. They are patrolling the most dangerous stretch of water on Earth. Just hours earlier, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi had issued a proclamation that reverberated through every radio receiver in North Africa. He had drawn a line across the Gulf of Sidra at latitude 32 degrees, 30 minutes north. He called it the Line of Death. He declared that any foreign vessel crossing this invisible boundary would be destroyed. It was a challenge thrown directly into the face of the United States. On the bridge of the Ian Zakwit, the captain feels a surge of invincibility. He is not afraid of the American fleet. Why should he be? He is protected by the finest military technology the Eastern Bloc has to offer. On the coast behind them, near the city of Sirte, sits the ultimate shield, the SA-5 Gammon missile battery. These are massive, long-range surface-to-air missiles capable of reaching out over 150 miles. They are the Soviet Union's guarantee that the sky belongs to Libya. And on the water, the Ian Zakwit itself is a predator. It is armed with SSN-2 Styx anti-ship missiles, weapons designed to break the keel of a destroyer in a single hit. The crew watches their radar screens. The green sweep line rotates hypnotically, painting the digital echo of the surrounding waves. Contact, the radar operator says. His voice is tight but steady. American aircraft, long range. The captain leans over the scope. He sees the blips. They are distant, ghostly flickers at the very edge of their detection envelope. The Americans are out there, north of the line. The U.S. Navy has brought 3 aircraft carriers. The America, the Coral Sea, and the Saratoga. It is a massive show of force, but to the Libyan crew, it looks like hesitation. The American jets are staying back. They are buzzing around the edge of the radar, afraid to enter the kill zone of the SA-5 seconds. The captain smiles grimly. The Soviet advisors were right. The Americans rely on air superiority, and the SA-5 has denied them that. The Ian Zakwit pushes forward, cutting through the swells, moving deeper into the dark water to enforce the territorial claim. They are the hunters in this dark alley. But something is wrong. The atmosphere on the bridge shifts imperceptibly at first. The radio chatter from the shore command becomes erratic. There are reports of confusion from the other patrol boats, the Wahid and the Ain Mara. Radar is clear in the immediate sector, the operator reports again. No surface targets, no air targets within 50 miles. The night remains silent. The only sound is the crash of the bow against the waves. Then, the impossible happens. It does not come with a scream of jet engines. There is no warning siren. There is no visual confirmation of an enemy. There is simply a sudden, blinding flash of white light that erases the darkness. The universe explodes. The Ian Zakwit shudders violently, as if a giant hand has reached up from the depths and struck the hull with a sledgehammer. The sound arrives a fraction of a second later, a deafening, tearing roar that shatters the glass on the bridge dials. Men are thrown off their feet, slamming into bulkheads and control consoles. The lights flicker and die, replaced instantly by the blood-red glow of emergency battle lanterns. "Report," the captain screams, pulling himself up from the deck. "What hit us? Report! Fire in the engine room. We have lost propulsion. Radar is down. Systems are dead." The crew scrambles to the starboard viewing ports. They look out into the night, expecting to see the silhouette of an American destroyer, or perhaps the low profile of a submarine surfacing to finish the job. They see nothing. The sea is empty. The sky is empty. There are no jet trails. There is no smoke from a ship's gun barrel. There is only the pitch-black horizon and the burning wreckage of their own superstructure. Panic begins to set in. This defies the laws of naval warfare as they know them. To hit a ship moving at high speed in total darkness, you need to be close. You need to illuminate the target with a fire control radar, a signal that the Ian Zuckwit's electronic support measures would have detected screaming at them. But the warning receivers had been silent. The radar had been clear. "It must be a mine," one officer shouts, his face pale in the red emergency light. "We hit a mine!" "No," the captain roars. "The damage is topside. Something hit us from the air." "But there was nothing there," the operator cries out, gesturing to the blank dead screen. "We scanned the sky. It was empty." This is the terror of the moment. It is not just the fire or the sinking ship. It is the unknown. They are fighting a ghost. On the shore, the confusion is even worse. The Soviet technical advisors stationed at the SA-5 battery in Sirte are staring at their own scopes in disbelief. They watch the Ian Zuckwit's transponder blink and then vanish from the network. They are frantically scanning the airspace, cranking the gain on their massive radars to the maximum setting. They see the American F-14 Tomcat aircraft and F-18 Hornet aircraft miles away, patrolling high and slow. They are nowhere near the corvette. "This is impossible," a Soviet advisor mutters in Russian, tapping the glass of the scope. "Unless they have a submarine that can fly, there is nothing in range to make that shot." Back on the burning deck of the Ian Zuckwit, the situation is terminal. The fire is spreading to the missile magazines. The order is given to abandon ship. As the sailors leap into the oil-slicked freezing water, they look up at the sky one last time, searching for their executioner. They expect to see the afterburners of a fighter jet peeling away. They expect to see the rotor blades of a helicopter. They see only the stars. The silence of the night has returned, indifferent and absolute. The Libyan Navy has just been struck by a weapon they did not know existed, delivered by a platform they could not see, using a tactic they could not counter. The line of death has just been crossed, not by a noisy invasion force, but by a silent, invisible assassin. But the Americans are not done. This was just the opening move, in a game of three-dimensional chess that the Libyans do not yet realize they are losing. As the survivors tread water, waiting for rescue that might never come, a single question burns in their minds, louder than the fire consuming their ship. How did they find us in the dark? If you want to understand the hidden mechanics of Cold War dominance and the military secrets that changed history, make sure you subscribe to Cold War Impact. We are peeling back the classified layers of the past, one mission at a time. The sun rises over the Gulf of Sidra on March 25th, but it brings no clarity to the Libyan High Command. The mood inside the bunker at Tripoli is a volatile mixture of rage and paralyzed confusion. The report from the Ian Zuckwit is impossible to reconcile with reality. A modern warship, equipped with the latest Soviet sensors, was obliterated. There was no distress call mentioning enemy aircraft. There was no visual confirmation. Just silence. Colonel Gaddafi is furious. He demands answers from his generals, and more importantly, from the Soviet military advisors who are essentially running his air defense network. These men, seasoned officers from Moscow, are currently staring at maps and telemetry readouts with a growing sense of dread. General Vladimir, the senior advisor, looks at the jagged trace on a strip of chart paper. It shows the radar activity from the previous night. It is clean. There were no American fire control radars active in that sector, he explains, his voice low. To fire a missile, you must paint the target. You must lock on. Our receivers would have screamed. They did not. A Libyan officer slams his hand on the table. Then it was a lucky shot. A stray bomb. Precision munitions do not rely on luck, Vladimir counters. They knew exactly where the ship was. They knew its speed. They knew its heading. And they hit it in pitch darkness without turning on a flashlight. This is the terrifying anomaly. The Soviet doctrine relies on active sensors, powerful radars that blast energy into the sky to find the enemy. It is a brute force philosophy. Shout loud enough and you will hear the echo. But the Americans are playing a different game. They are fighting in silence. The Soviet advisors begin to suspect a horrifying possibility. The Americans have developed a way to see in the infrared spectrum with a fidelity that matches daylight. But to admit this would be to admit that every piece of equipment they have sold to Libya billions of dollars in hardware is obsolete. Instead of retreating, the order comes down to escalate. If the Americans want to play in the dark, the Libyans will light up the entire sky. The focus shifts to the coast, near the city of Sirte. Here lies the crown jewel of the Libyan defense network, the SA-5 Gammon missile complex. The SA-5 is a monster. It is a 35-foot-long rocket, the size of a telephone pole, designed to shoot down high-altitude bombers like the B-52 or spy planes like the SR-71. It is the longest-range surface-to-air missile in the world. At the heart of the battery is the square-pair engagement radar. It is a massive, high-power emitter. When you turn it on, it radiates so much energy that it acts like a lighthouse. Everyone within 200 miles knows you are watching. Activate the square pair. The command comes through. Target everything south of latitude 33. The Soviet operators hesitate. Turning on the radar makes them a target, but the order stands. They flip the switches. The hum of the generators rises to a scream. The massive antenna begins to rotate. On the screens inside the control van, the airspace over the Gulf suddenly floods with data. They see them. Dozens of American aircraft are patrolling the line. F-14 Tomcat fighters, F-18 Hornet strike fighters. They are brazen, flying in loops, daring the Libyans to shoot. Target acquired, the operator shouts. Range 40 miles, altitude 20,000 feet. The firing solution is locked. The launch button is pressed. With a ground-shaking roar, 2 SA-5 missiles streak off the rails, trailing plumes of white fire. They climb rapidly, accelerating to Mach 4. The crew watches the blips merge on the screen. They wait for the explosion. They wait for the confirmation of a kill. But the American jets do not panic. They do not scatter. Instead, the targets simply vanish. The American aircraft dive sharply, disappearing into the clutter, the confused radar echoes created by the waves of the ocean. The SA-5 missiles, confused by the sudden loss of lock, drift aimlessly and detonate harmlessly into the sea. The radar operator curses. He tries to reacquire the targets. They are jamming us. Heavy electronic countermeasures. Then, the true trap springs shut. The square pair radar is still transmitting, blasting its powerful signal into the ether. The operators are so focused on finding the fighters that they do not notice the small, fast-moving projectile that has just detached from an American jet miles away. This projectile does not need to see the radar. It listens to it. It is a high-speed anti-radiation missile, or HARM. It is a robotic bloodhound. It locks onto the specific frequency of the square pair radar and rides the beam straight back to the source. Inside the control van, a warning light flashes. Missile inbound, shut down, shut down. The Soviet advisor reaches for the emergency cutoff, killing the power to the radar antenna. The screen goes black. They hold their breath, hoping the missile loses the scent. Seconds tick by. Sweat drips onto the console. Boom. The explosion is not a direct hit, but it is close enough. Shrapnel shreds the delicate antenna array outside. The concussive wave rocks the van. The eyes of the CERT battery are blinded. The crew sits in the dark, ears ringing. They have fired their best weapons. They have used their most powerful radar, and the result is 0 kills and a broken system. But the night is not over. The humiliation at sea is about to be repeated. Unaware that their air cover has been neutralized, another Libyan naval task force is moving into position. The Wahid, another Nanuchka-class corvette, and a smaller Combattante-class missile boat are ordered to hunt down the American attackers. The captain of the Wahid is confident. He has heard the rumors about the Ain Zakwit, but he dismisses them. He has his own radar. He has his own missiles. He believes he can fight. He enters the darkness of the Gulf, scanning for the American fleet. He does not know that he is already being watched. High above, hidden in the ink-black sky, a strange, bulbous shape rotates under the nose of a slow-moving aircraft. It is not a fighter jet. It is not a bomber. It is a platform the Libyans have completely underestimated. This aircraft is looking at the Wahid, not with radar, which would alert the Libyan captain, but with a thermal imager. On a small green screen in the American cockpit, the Wahid stands out like a white-hot coal against the cool black water. The heat from its engines, the warmth of its exhaust stacks, it is a perfect, glowing silhouette. The American pilot does not need to turn on his radar. He does not need to give away his position. He simply types the coordinates into his weapon system. On the bridge of the Wahid, the radio operator is scanning the frequencies. Quiet, he reports. No American activity. The captain nods. Good. We will catch them sleeping. He raises his binoculars to the horizon. Suddenly, the water 2 miles off his port bow erupts. Then the water 1 mile away. Missiles! The lookout screams. Sea skimmers! The captain freezes. His radar is silent. His warning receivers are silent. How? The harpoon missile is a terrifying weapon because it is smart. It skims just feet above the waves, below the radar horizon, silent and invisible until the last few seconds. When it finally pops up to acquire the target, it is too late to react. The impact tears the Wahid apart. The explosion is followed by another, and then another. The second missile boat is hit moments later. The Gulf of Sidra is turning into a graveyard of burning ships. Back in Tripoli, the reports are coming in fragments, hysterical and disjointed. We are being hit from everywhere. The Americans are using magic. They are invisible. The Soviet advisors are no longer arrogant. They are deeply shaken. They are witnessing the dismantling of a Soviet-style integrated air defense system, the same system used to protect Moscow by an enemy they cannot even see. They realize that the Americans have introduced a new variable to warfare. It is not about who has the biggest missile or the fastest jet. It is about who owns the electromagnetic spectrum. It is about who can see in the dark. But amidst the chaos, one specific question nags at the Soviet intelligence officers. They know about the F-14 seconds. They know about the F-18 seconds. But those are fighters. They are not dedicated night attack platforms capable of this kind of surgical destruction on moving ships. There is something else out there. A workhorse. An ugly, subsonic, overlooked machine that is doing the real killing, while the glamorous fighters distract the radars. The Libyans are looking for a tiger. They are being killed by a bat. And as the fires burn on the water, the mystery deepens. The Americans haven't just won a skirmish. They have exposed a fundamental flaw in the entire Soviet military philosophy. The line of death has become a trap, and the Libyans are the prey. The morning of March 25th brings a deceptive calm to the Mediterranean. The wreckage of the Ian Zakwit and the Wahid has long since slipped beneath the waves, leaving only oil slicks and floating debris as evidence of the night's violence. Inside the Soviet embassy in Tripoli, the mood has shifted from confusion to a cold, hard realization. The technical advisors are analyzing the intercepts from the previous night. They are listening to the frantic voice recordings of the Libyan captains in their final moments. They did not see a radar spike, General Vladimir says, pacing the room. They did not see a launch flash. They were hit by ghosts. The advisors are holding photographs of the American fleet taken by high-altitude reconnaissance. They push aside the glossy pictures of the F-14 Tomcat fighters. They know what the Tomcat does. It kills other planes. It is a dogfighter. It is not a ship killer. Instead, their eyes drift to a blurry image of a different aircraft parked on the deck of the USS Coral Sea. It is a strange, bulbous machine. It has a rounded nose, a thick fuselage, and a distinct lack of sharp supersonic angles. It looks less like a Predator and more like a flying tadpole. The A-6, a junior analyst notes dismissively. Subsonic, old technology. It entered service in the 1960s. It is a bomb truck, nothing more. Vladimir stares at the photo. He knows the A-6. It was the workhorse of Vietnam. It is slow, heavy, and unglamorous. By 1986 standards, it should be obsolete. It shouldn't be able to penetrate the lethal umbrella of the SA-5 missiles or sneak up on a modern corvette equipped with the latest electronic support measures. And yet, Vladimir murmurs, something is guiding those missiles with surgical precision in zero visibility. If it is not radar and it is not satellite, what is it? The answer lies in a small rotating ball turret mounted under the nose of that obsolete aircraft, a detail so small the grainy spy photos barely resolve it. This is the mystery the Libyans are dying to solve. As night falls again, the order comes from Gaddafi's palace. Attack. The line of death must be held. The humiliation must be avenged. But this time, the Libyan Navy changes tactics. They will not send the large corvettes out into the open deep water. Instead, they deploy the Osa-class missile boats. The Osa is small, fast, and agile. It is designed to hug the coastline, blending its radar signature with the clutter of the rocky shore. The strategy is sound. Stay close to the land, hide in the electronic noise of the coast, and ambush the American ships if they get too close. At 2 o'clock in the morning, An OSA missile boat creeps out of the harbor at Benghazi. The captain keeps his radar off to remain silent. He navigates by the lights of the coastline. He feels safe. He is invisible to radar because the cliffs behind him reflect so much energy that he is lost in the static. He does not know that he is being watched by a green, unblinking eye. High above at 15,000 feet, the flying tadpole is prowling. Inside the cockpit of the A6, the bombardier, navigator, or BN, is not looking out the window. He is burying his face in a dark rubber hood that blocks out all light from the cockpit. He is staring at a small cathode ray tube screen. On this screen, the world is not black. It is a grainy, glowing green landscape. The coast of Libya shines bright. The cool water is dark. And there, hugging the warm rocks of the shore, is a distinct white, hot shape. The heat of the OSA's diesel engines creates a thermal contrast that no amount of radar silence can hide. To the infrared sensor, the boat is as obvious as a flare in a dark room. "I have a good lock," the BN says quietly over the intercom. "Target is designated." The pilot checks his instruments. Solution ready. They are miles away. They are well outside the range of the OSA's defensive guns. They are effectively firing from the moon. The pilot presses the release button on the stick. This time, they do not use a Harpoon missile. They use something far more insulting to the Soviet advisor's understanding of naval warfare. They drop a Rockeye cluster bomb. Usually, a gravity bomb is a weapon of the past, dumb, unguided iron. You have to dive low, expose yourself to fire, and pray you hit. But the A6 computer is calculating the wind, the speed of the aircraft, and the movement of the ship with a mathematical perfection that was impossible a decade ago. On the OSA, the crew hears the faint hum of a jet engine high above, passing in the darkness. They think they are safe. The jet is too high to see them. Seconds later, the air above the boat splits open. The canister of the Rockeye bomb bursts, releasing hundreds of armor-piercing bomblets. It is like a shotgun blast from the gods. The water around the OSA churns into white foam. Dozens of bomblets strike the deck, shredding the radar mast, puncturing the hull, and detonating the fuel drums stored on deck. The boat is not just sunk, it is erased. Back at the command center in Tripoli, the radio silence from the OSA is deafening. "We lost another one," the communications officer whispers, terrified to raise his voice. "Near Benghazi, close to the shore." "How?" a general demands. "The radar was off. They were against the cliffs." "We don't know." The psychological impact is devastating. The Libyan sailors are now refusing to patrol. They believe the Americans have a supernatural ability to see through walls. The line of death has become a graveyard. But the Americans are doing something even more devious than sinking ships. Throughout the night, as the Libyan radars frantically turn on and off, trying to find these phantom attackers, the American electronic warfare aircraft, the EA-6B Prowlers, are circling in the distance. They are not shooting. They are recording. Every time a Libyan radar operator panics and flips a switch, the Americans capture the frequency. They capture the pulse repetition interval. They capture the location. The Libyans think they are fighting a naval battle. They do not realize they are participating in a rehearsal. They are lighting up their own defense grid for the Americans to map. General Vladimir begins to see the pattern. He realizes that the sinking of the ships is not the main event. It is the bait. They are provoking us, Vladimir tells his Libyan counterparts. They want you to turn on the SA. 5 seconds. They want you to turn on the MiG-25 radars. They are building a map of your electronic nervous system. "Let them map it," the Libyan commander shouts. "We will shoot them down." "You cannot shoot what you cannot see," Vladimir snaps. "And you cannot see them." The twist is tightening. The Americans have established total dominance over the sea surface at night. The Libyan Navy has been neutralized in less than 48 hours without the US Navy losing a single sailor. But the ultimate shock is yet to come. The Soviets are still convinced that this level of nighttime precision is the result of some massive, coordinated effort involving satellites and AWACS planes. They believe it is a strategic asset, deployed only for high-value targets. They are about to learn that the capability resides in a single, self-contained system on the nose of a 30-year-old airframe. A system that turns a dumb bomber into the deadliest sniper of the Cold War. And as the sun rises on the third day, the Americans are done playing with boats. They are looking inland. The line of death has been crossed and erased. Now, the A6 intruders are turning their sensors toward the land, toward the airfields, and toward the very barracks where the pilots sleep. The mystery of the invisible hammer is about to be solved, not by a briefing, but by a demonstration of firepower that will change military aviation forever. The mystery that had paralyzed the Libyan Navy and baffled their Soviet advisors was finally solved not by a spy, or a defector, or a captured document. It was solved by the sheer, undeniable reality of the wreckage. By the time the sun set on March 26th, the line of death had been erased. The Gulf of Sidra was no longer a contested zone, it was an American lake. But the true shock was only just settling in for the military analysts in Moscow. As they pieced together the timeline of the destruction, the sinking of the Ian Zakwit, the Wahid, and the Osa missile boats, they realized that the United States Navy had achieved something that was theoretically impossible in Soviet doctrine. They had conducted a passive slaughter. For decades, the fundamental rule of electronic warfare was simple. To see, you must emit. To find a target in the dark, you must shine a radar beam on it. And when you shine that beam, the enemy sees you back. It is like turning on a flashlight in a dark forest. You can see the bear, but the bear can also see the flashlight. The Soviet defense network supplied to Libya was built entirely around this principle. Their ships had advanced receivers designed to detect the specific frequency of American fire control radars. Their tactic was to wait for the American flashlight to turn on and then fire a missile at the source. But the Americans never turned on the flashlight. They had walked into the forest, found the bear, and killed it without ever breaking radio silence. The secret weapon was not a new stealth fighter. It was not a satellite weapon. It was a chin-mounted turret on the underside of the fleet's oldest, slowest attack jet, the A6 Intruder. This system was called TRAM, the Target Recognition and Attack Multi-Sensor. To the casual observer, it looked like a small, rotating ball turret, slightly larger than a basketball, tucked under the nose of the aircraft. But inside that ball was a revolution in warfare that would render the Soviet naval strategy obsolete overnight. The TRAM system gave the A6 Intruder a superpower, a forward-looking infrared sensor, or FLIR, combined with a laser designator. This sounds standard today, but in 1986, it was witchcraft. The FLIR sensor did not see light, it saw heat. It detected the infrared energy radiating from objects. In the cold environment of the Mediterranean Sea at night, a steel warship running diesel engines is a massive thermal beacon. It glows against the cold black water like a neon sign. The Soviet advisors had assumed that the Americans would need radar to get a precise distance and speed for their missiles. They were wrong. The TRAM system allowed the bombardier navigator in the A6 to zoom in on the heat signature of a Libyan ship from miles away. He could see the exhaust stacks. He could see the superstructure. He could see the sailors running on the deck. And he could do all of this without emitting a single pulse of energy. The Libyan radar warning receivers remained silent because there was no radar to detect. The A6 was essentially a vampire. Stalking its prey by body heat alone. Once the target was identified on the glowing green screen in the cockpit, the A6 did not need to guess. The laser designator inside the TRAM turret would fire a silent, invisible beam of coded laser energy at the ship. The computer would calculate the range instantly. The pilot could then unleash a harpoon missile, which would fly to the coordinates, or drop a laser-guided bomb that would ride the invisible beam straight down the ship's smokestack. This was the shock that Colonel Gaddafi and his generals could not comprehend. They were fighting a war of electronics, waiting for radar jams and missile locks. The Americans were fighting a war of physics, using the heat of the Libyan engines against them. The final phase of the operation was a masterclass in this new dominance. As the remaining Libyan vessels retreated toward the harbor, desperate for the protection of the shore batteries, the A6 intruders followed them. The pilots were calm. The frantic dogfights that the movies promised never happened. Instead, the cockpit of an A6 was a quiet, professional environment. Target designated, the navigator would say, adjusting a small hand controller to keep the crosshairs on the white-hot image of a fleeing corvette. Rifle, the pilot would respond, launching a skipper weapon, a laser-guided bomb with a rocket motor attached. The weapon would drift through the night, silent and unannounced. The Libyan crew would be scanning the horizon, their eyes straining against the darkness, their ears waiting for the screech of a jet. They would never hear it. The skipper would glide in, guided by the tram's unblinking eye, and strike the waterline with mathematical cruelty. By the time the operation ended, the Libyan Navy had lost at least 2 corvettes and a patrol boat, with others severely damaged. 35 sailors were dead. The Russian-built radar network was in shambles, blinded by HARM missiles and confused by jamming. But the most damaging loss was psychological. The Soviet Union watched this dismantle their prestige in the region. They had sold Libya the impenetrable shield of the SA-5 and the lethal sword of the Nanuchka corvettes. The United States had broken the shield and snapped the sword in less than 48 hours, using subsonic aircraft designed in the 1950s. The A-6 Intruder, often mocked for being ugly and slow, had proven that speed did not matter if you were invisible. The Iron Tadpole had become the executioner of the Gulf. Colonel Gaddafi, faced with the total annihilation of his naval forces, ordered a retreat. The line of death was abandoned. The ships that survived stayed in port, terrified to leave the breakwater. They knew that out there in the dark, the green eyes were watching, and there was no way to hide from your own heat. This operation, designated Attain Document and later Prairie Fire, was a turning point in history. It was the moment the world realized that the United States had mastered the night. The era of visual range combat was dying. The era of the sensor had begun. For the sailors on the Ain Zaquit, the mystery of their death was never solved in their lifetime.
And that was the Cold War. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that you're not neutral and that the government has no rights.